Hello friends, welcome to the course on Indian Knowledge System. This presentation has been made by the Department of History, Nauroji Wadia College. We are an autonomous institute running the new education policy. The Indian Knowledge System is another feather in the cap of the entire national education policy that was introduced in 2020. And at Nauroji Wadia College, we are catering to the various diverse courses that are associated with the NEP. As you can see here, this is now we will be looking at the Indian knowledge system in terms of not only its understanding and introduction, we will be looking at the concept, significance, and the whole idea of IKS. We will further be looking at the system of knowledge that existed in ancient and medieval India, as well as the education system that existed in the country. जे स्लाइड्स मध्ये आता तुम्ही पुढे पाहणार त्याच्यामध्ये आपण भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणालीचा परिचय तर घेऊच, आपण त्याचे वैशिष्ट्य, महत्त्व आणि जी ज्ञान प्रणाली प्राचीन आणि मध्ययुगीन भारतात होती आणि शिक्षण पद्धती भारताचा आपण पाहू. So now in order to understand IKS or Indian knowledge system, we first need to understand the three words of Indian knowledge and system. भारतीय ज्ञान आणि प्रणाली ह्या तीन शब्दांचा आता आपण परिचय पाहू. When we need to go further in detail, we need to understand that every subject is interconnected with history, and every subject has its own history in terms of what we understand about the past. So here, as the map suggests, we need to understand that when we speak about Indian, we are looking at India not in the geographical terms of as it is today. Instead, we are looking at it from the time that it was known as Akhanda Bharat, or technically from Burma to Afghanistan. So भौगोलिक दृष्टी कोणातून जर आपण पाहिलं तर अखंड भारत म्हणजे बर्मा ते अफगाणिस्तान ह्या मधला जो भाग होता आणि त्या भागात any kind of work or any kind of knowledge system or any kind of book किंवा पुस्तक किंवा कुठलाही लिखाणाचा साहित्य किंवा सांस्कृतिक प्रणाली किंवा पद्धतीचा जेव्हा निर्माण झाला त्याला आपण इंडियन म्हणू शकतो. So knowledge, going on further, we need to understand is not only simple information, it is basically wisdom. It is basically what we are trying to understand. It is all our experiences and experiments by way of which we attain wisdom, by way of which we understand that आपले अनुभव आणि प्रयोगांमधून जेव्हा मिळालेला आपला जो ज्ञान आहे त्याला आपण नॉलेज म्हणतो. अँड सिस्टम इज बेसिकली अ स्ट्रक्चर और अ मेथडॉलॉजी और अ रचना किंवा पद्धती ज्याच्यातून वी कॅन क्रिएट अनदर फ्रेमवर्क अँड ट्राय टू अंडरस्टँड दॅट वॉट एव्हर बुक्स और वॉट एव्हर नॉलेज दॅट हॅज बीन इंट्रोड्यूस्ड और emerged during this period of time. We need to understand that all of this comes under the concept of system. That's how we put together and understand the idea of Indian knowledge system. Before we understand Indian knowledge system, we need to have a clear foundation of time. So here, Indian history has been divided into three parts: that of ancient, medieval, and modern. In fact, this bifurcation of time is applicable to the history of any country, basically for a clearer and more profound understanding of the past. So, going back to Indian history, in ancient India, basically it was the time when we could say prehistory and the earliest happenings were taking place, beginning from the Indus Valley civilization and also going on to the time when you had the Shakas, Kushanas, the Greeks, Scythians, Hunas, Indo-Aryans, and so many others who came from outside and made this their home. Basically, during this time, we see various dynasties coming up, like that of the Mauryan dynasty, the Gupta dynasty. We also understand about the history of Harshavardhan and mainly happenings that were taking place in the Indo-Gangetic region. where Magadh and northern India was the main concentration of events. As time passes, we see that we move into another period of time which we know as the medieval period. This was essentially marked by the coming of Islam into the country in terms of people practicing it as a religion who went on to rule the country. So during this time, we see the coming up of different dynasties and different areas that were ruled by Islamic rulers, one of the regions being the Delhi Sultanate, where Delhi was the capital, and you had various dynasties from the slave dynasty to the Khiljis to the Tughlaqs and to the Sayyids, Lodhis. This period also saw the end of the Sultanate and the rise of the Mughal Empire with the coming of Babur and the battles of Panipat that marked this period of Indian history. We see the rise and consolidation of power by the very famous Mughal Emperor Akbar. And we move into various periods of time where we also see that regional history comes to the fore. For example, the rise of the mighty Maratha Empire definitely was a highlight of the medieval period. Later on, even in Assam, you had Lachit Borphukan, who was a contemporary of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. We also later on have various other dynasties coming up in India, and of course, you have the Rajputs. As we move further into time, we see that the modern period of Indian history is marked by the entry of the Europeans on the Indian soil. And they come into this region mainly for practicing trade. And as is well known history, they go on, particularly the Portuguese and mainly, of course, the British go on to become the colonial masters of this land. And this period is also marked by the freedom movement that took place beginning from the first war of independence in 1857, and then the various movements that took place as a result of the hard work and guidance of leaders like Justice M.G. Ranade, Lokmanya Tilak, and Mahatma Gandhi and his mass movements. And then you have social reformers who brought about immense change into society, Dr. Ambedkar, and so many other well known faces, Mahatma Phule, who brought about a revolution in the field of education, and so on. So, the modern period of Indian history is all about this. We are in the contemporary period of Indian history where we are seeing events happening in our times. So, just to clear uh, how we will go ahead into the Indian knowledge system, this bifurcation and understanding of time was very much necessary. Moving on further, we need to understand the necessity or explanation that the National Education Policy of 2020 makes in order to incorporate the Indian knowledge system. The whole idea behind policymakers making the IKS an integral part of education to come for the next few years and going ahead is this, that we have had a very strong, rich, and varied heritage as well as an extremely solid foundation in terms of cultural practices. भारत में सांस्कृतिक पद्धति और जितनी भी हमारे ट्रेडिशंस और कल्चरल प्रैक्टिसेस हैं उस सब का स्रोत हमारे वेदिक लिटरेचर से आता है, हमारे उपनिषद, हमारे पुराण, इन सब से आता है. अगर हम ये कहें कि भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणाली क्या है, किन तीन चीज़ों से बनता है, तो वो है ज्ञान, विज्ञान और जीवन दर्शन. द इंडियन IKS or the Indian knowledge system is simply a combination of knowledge, science, and a perspective towards life. भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणालीची संकल्पना किंवा कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ IKS ह्याच्यामध्ये आपण मॅथमॅटिक्स, सायन्स, टेक्नॉलॉजी, कला, गणित, विज्ञान, तंत्रज्ञान, वैदिकशास्त्र, खगोलशास्त्र, कल्चर, लिटरेचर, साहित्य, आरोग्य, कला, शिक्षण, आर्ट्स, ॲडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, लॉ, आणि बरेचसे असे विषयांचा समावेश आहे. मोरोवर थ्रू IKS it is found that one can research and find issues resolved through our past examples. So issues related to society, समाजामध्ये निर्माण होणारे समस्यांचा तोड संशोधनाद्वारे आपल्याला मिळू शकतो. ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ IKS किंवा भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणालीचा उद्देश. नॅशनल एज्युकेशन पॉलिसीच्या अंतर्गत भारताच्या सर्व शाळा, कॉलेजेस आणि विद्यापीठांमध्ये IKS हा इंट्रोड्यूस केलेला गेलेला आहे. And it is a large scale undertaking of the Government of India, Ministry of Education. Under that, traditional knowledge systems, tribal knowledge through engineering, agriculture, medicine, yoga, history, philosophy, geography, political science, administration, polity, conservation, खगोलशास्त्र, तत्वज्ञान, योगशास्त्र, वैदिक शास्त्र, कृषी अभियांत्रिका, भाषाशास्त्र, साहित्य, क्रीडा, गणित आणि असे बरेचसे जे नॉलेज सिस्टम्स आहेत त्यांचा यूज आपल्याला पुढच्या पिढीसाठी कसं उपयोगात आणता येईल ते आपण पाहतोय IKS मध्ये. भारतीय ज्ञान प्रणालीचं महत्त्व or the significance of IKS lies in using all knowledge that we have had from generations together coming down to us in form of various educational patterns, customs, traditions, practices, all of that related to various types of forms of treatment in health, in understanding our past, our geography, our economy, everything. ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टींचा आपण वापर आजच्या समस्यांसाठी करायचं ताकि ये सारी प्रॉब्लम्स जो अगर हमारे पास्ट में हुई थी वो सब चीज़ को हम लोग लेके आज की समस्याओं को हम लोग सॉल्व कर सके. Indian knowledge system has brought to the fore topics like Ayurveda, Vedic science for sustainable living, environmental concerns, natural resources and its conservation, stress management, social issues to be resolved through various scientific approaches, as well as spiritual growth, Arogya, Ayurveda, वैदिक आणि वेदांत सिद्धांत, पर्यावरणविषयी महत्त्वाचे मुद्दे, ताण तणाव आणि अशा बऱ्याचशा काही टॉपिक्सचा तोड आपल्याला IKS थ्रू मिळू शकेल. We will be able to get a lot of answers and resolutions through the Indian knowledge system. Mainly, the whole idea about IKS is this, that if we try to study in different compartments, we will not be able to achieve anything. So, like studies, we are all human beings, though living geographically different lives, we are all interconnected and the world is one. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is the motto of IKS. So when we talk about the ancient Indian knowledge system, we need to understand that from the very ancient times, from whether the first Rig Veda or to the various other Vedas, the Upavedas, Aranyakas, Brahmanas, Upanishads, Puranas, whether there were any other books that were written even by writers like the famous Patanjali, then various other forms of literature that came up in the form of Vrichakatikam or Shakuntalam and Kalidasa's various works or Sushrut's works or the works of Aryabhatta or the Natya Shastra and so many other books. All of these works helped in encouraging and enriching not only learning and study, but it also created a huge composite of knowledge and a huge repository. प्राचीन भारत किंवा प्राचीन काळापासूनच आपली ज्ञान प्रणाली इतकी स्ट्रॉंग आणि रिच झाली की आपले जे वेगवेगळे जे पुस्तकं होते अगदी वेदांपासनं ते नाट्यशास्त्रापर्यंत शकुंतला आणि कालिदासाचे वेगवेगळे जे पुस्तकं होते त्या सगळ्यांचा समावेश आपल्याला ज्ञान प्रणालीमध्ये आपण करू शकतो आणि त्याचा वापरही आपण केलेला आहे. Furthermore, in the knowledge system that existed in ancient India, governance and ethics, along with spiritual teachings, the Vedas, the subsidiary Vedas, Puranas, Dharma Shastras, auxiliary sciences including phonetics, grammar, astronomy, etc., were also taught. It must be noted here that the Indian Knowledge System Division of the Ministry of Education is offering an internship program for students who are really interested in furthering their studies in this field. प्राचीन भारताच्या ज्ञानप्रणालीमध्ये आध्यात्मिक शिक्षणाबरोबर शासन आणि नीतिशास्त्र, वेद, उपवेद, पुराण, व्याकरण, खगोलशास्त्र, विधी अशा पण विषयांचा समावेश होता. Now we will look at the education system in ancient India. प्राचीन भारतातील शिक्षण पद्धती. There were two types or streams of education. Aparividya, which concentrated on material knowledge, also focusing on subjects like philosophy, grammar, astrology, medicine, chemistry, physics, etc. The second stream was Parividya, which concentrated on attaining spiritual knowledge, which concentrated also on subjects like Upanishads and Puranas. दोन पद्धती जे होते त्याच्यामध्ये अपरिविद्या आणि परिविद्या असे दोन शाखा होते. There were two types of educational systems that existed in ancient India. The Gurukul system, where the student used to reside at the house of his teacher, which was located far away from the city limits from the age of 8 to 25. Here the student learned through various methods of listening, memorizing, as well as comprehension. The second system was for higher education and also for attaining spiritual knowledge, the Vidyapits or the universities. The very famous Nalanda, Takshashila, Kanchipuram, Vallabhi, and many other such universities existed during that time. There used to be the conferences and various types of debating circles and goshtis also, which used to be organized. प्राचीन भारतात शिक्षण पद्धतीमध्ये दोन प्रकार होते, गुरुकुल परंपरा आणि विद्यापीठ. तक्षशिला, नालंदा, कांचीपुरम अशा प्रकारचे मोठमोठ्या विद्यापीठ होते प्राचीन काळात, जिथे शिक्षणाचे परिषदही भरवले जात होते. Let's move on and understand the knowledge system that existed in medieval times. During this time, there was religious as well as secular education, which was taught both at the Gurukuls and the Madrasas. There were significant changes in terms of education system during the time of Emperor Akbar, and under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, along with regular education, military education was also provided. मध्ययुगीन भारतात धार्मिक व धर्मनिरपेक्ष असे दोन्ही प्रकारचे शिक्षण प्रभाव होते. बादशाह अकबर ह्यांच्या काळात शिक्षणाला खूप प्रोत्साहन दिला गेला आणि छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराजांच्या काळात नियमित शिक्षणाबरोबरच लष्करी प्रशिक्षणही दिला गेला जात होता. मध्ययुगीन भारतात मदरसा आणि गुरुकुल पद्धती दोन्हीही चालू होते, जिथे वैदिक शास्त्र, खगोलशास्त्र, गणित अशा विषयांचा समावेश होता. Education was provided in not only Arabic but also Persian, and these were the main languages of communication. Students used to be taught how to recite the Quran. Education was more or less free. अभ्यासक्रमात धार्मिक आणि धर्मनिरपेक्ष हे दोन्ही विषय तर होतेच, पण अरबी आणि पर्शियन भाषामध्ये पण शिकवलं जात होते. शिक्षण मोफत होता. Educational institutes during the medieval times were attached to the mosques, and Islamic pedagogy was seen being used in the same way that was done during the Gurukul period, where learning was through listening, memorization, and comprehension. Then there were also two divisions, which was about revealed and acquired knowledge, where it was for one was for chosen few and one was for the regular masses. मध्ययुगीन काळात शैक्षणिक संस्था मशिदींशी संगलित होते. तिथे गुरुकुल परंपराची पद्धती जिथे स्मरण करणे, ऐकणे आणि पुनर्गठन करणे ह्याच्यावर शिक्षण आधारित होता. Education in British India. During this time, we need to understand that the period of British dominance in India can be divided into two parts, where we are one looking at the East India Company governance, and post the 1857 revolt, we are looking at the British Raj. During both the periods, we had significant contributions in terms of rules, regulations, and laws that were introduced for education. For the first time, we see that education was promoted by Christian missions and missionaries who were trying to introduce Western education by setting up schools, also providing medical care facilities. These people did their best to promote education throughout the country. One significant event we get to understand is in 1835 when the British historian Thomas Macaulay presented his Minutes on Indian Education, which was basically trying to speak about the need to impart English education to the natives. This education would be based on the downward filtration theory, where a small number of people would be educated in India with the expectation that they in turn would teach the general public. However, once the 1857 revolt took place and the company sarkar came to an end, there was a transfer of power leading to the British Raj or the Queen taking over the reins of the governance in the country directly. Subsequent to which, it was realized that things need to be done in order to maintain peace within the country. And as an act in 1857, three major institutes in terms of the universities of Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta were established. भारतात ब्रिटिश शिक्षण पिरियड ह्यामध्ये आपल्याला ख्रिस्त मिशनरी ह्यांचा योगदान दिसतो. पुढे 1835 मध्ये थॉमस मॅकॉलीने त्याची मिनिट्स जाहीर केली, ज्याच्यामध्ये भारतीय निवासांना अंग्रेजी शिक्षण देण्याची आवश्यकता स्थापित झाली. डाउनवर्ड फिल्ट्रेशन थेअरीद्वारा शिक्षण द्यायचं असं ठरवलं गेलं होतं की थोडेसे लोक, मोजके लोकांना आपण शिकवलं तर ते बाकीच्या लोकांना पुढे शिकवतील. 1857 मध्ये जेव्हा क्रांती झाली आणि कंपनी सरकारची जी सरकार होती ती संपली आणि क्वीन विक्टोरियानी किंवा ब्रिटिश राज ह्यांनी भारतावर आता डायरेक्ट राज्य करायला लागले, तेव्हा त्यांना समजलं की आपल्याला काहीतरी भारतीयांसाठी करायला पाहिजे. त्यावेळीच 1857 मध्ये त्यांनी मुंबई, कलकत्ता आणि मद्रासमध्ये विद्यापीठांची स्थापना केली. A significant event had taken place in 1813 when the East India Company had passed the Charter Act of that year, where a sum of rupees 1 lakh was kept aside to educate Indians in British ruled India. This was the first step towards education. And after that, nothing much happened. Then later in 1835, Lord William Bentinck, the Governor General, introduced the English Education Act and thus was termed as the father of education in India. लॉर्ड विलियम बेंटिकला भारतातील शिक्षणाचे जनक असे म्हणतात, कारण 1835 मध्ये त्यांनी भारतात अंग्रेजी शिक्षणासाठी एक ॲक्ट पास केला होता. त्याच्या आधी 1813 मध्ये ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनीने चार्टर ॲक्ट पास केला होता, तेव्हा ज्याच्यात 1 लाख रुपये हे रक्कम भारताच्या शिक्षणासाठी बाजूला ठेवला होता. The Woods Dispatch of 1854 was known as the Magna Carta of English education because it spoke about regularizing education from the basic primary level up to the university level, and Indians would not only be taught in English but also in their native languages. 1854चा वूडचा खलिता ह्याला मॅग्ना कार्टर ऑफ ब्रिटिश एज्युकेशन इन इंडिया असं म्हणतात, कारण त्याच्यामध्ये पहिल्यांदा प्राथमिक ते विद्यापीठ स्तरापर्यंत शिक्षण प्रणाली नियमित करायचं असं ठरलं गेलं. As the intensity of the Indian freedom movement began to slowly grow, yet the British government passed some of the other laws and acts related to education. Like in 1882, the Hunter Commission spoke about primary education, or an act was passed in 1904 to establish more universities in the country. Further, in 1917 or in 1944, efforts were made by the British government to pass some of the other act or try to discuss and work on some recommendations that were being made related to education, primary education, secondary education, whether it was the establishment of more universities or more money should be invested in terms of higher education. All of these efforts were being made, but this was all happening parallel to the freedom movement. When India was going through its freedom movement, the struggle for independence was not only from the British rule but also from the traditional and orthodox social norms that had been going on. And education was one big way to eradicate all that. So, a large number of social reformers contributed towards generating reform in society, and education was being promoted on a very large scale, whether for the masses as well as for women and even for the lesser privileged classes. Whether it was Gopal Krishna Gokhale, whether Justice Rana Day, Lukmanya Tilak, Mahatma Phule, who set up the first girls' school, Rabindranath Tagore, who set up the Vishwabharati University, Pandita Ramabai, Dhondu Keshav Karve, Dr. Ambedkar, who promoted education for the masses. Gandhiji also spoke about the Nai Talim, and so many other individuals, whether it was Cornelia Sorabji, the first lady advocate, or whether it was even the wife of Justice Ranade, Ramabai Ranade. There were other ladies who were there from various communities, for example, the Jewish community, also Parsi community, and many other social reformers who worked towards creating huge change in the field of education in the country. So, with this, we come to the end of the syllabus for IKS for this mid semester examination.